Good morning. Today is the 24th of February 2025 and I'm going to go through my trading plan for today. Before we start, let's just take a look and see what news could move the market today. 8:30 we had Chicago Fed National Index activity rated 2 out of 3, so relatively volatile. We didn't see much happen and we haven't got anything really today. Keep an eye on 10:30 again. We've got the manufacturing index coming out and I think that's it. Yeah, there's nothing else for today, so might be a slow moving day today. Don't forget we had that big move on Friday. We had this big sell off and so we could expect to see maybe a bit of a dead cat bounce back up into this region, or we might just be taking a resting day. Usually after a big move, it can be quite a hard day. It's an inside day right now. So what I mean by that is the current range of the pre-market is trading in the range of Friday. So I find inside days harder to trade than days when we break out over pivots, because then you've got areas you can watch. But saying that, there's areas I'm watching today. I've got a few good areas to watch. So let's start. I'm looking at the ES, which is the S&P 500 E-mini futures, looking at the 1 hour time frame. We are currently trading around this 60.59, 60.60 area, and we can see we've got pre-market low, pre-market high. So as always, these are my bread and butter trades, ones I look for all the time. I do quite like the break and retest of pre-market high, and then with a target of this region here, because that's what I'm watching for, rejection. Same with pre-market low. I do look quite like the break and retest, but we are coming into an area of demand. Let's just go down to the 15, so I can just mark out these zones. So that area, I want to look for lots of bottom tails and opposite colour before we had to move. So it's we're kind of watching Friday's low for a bounce basically. Otherwise, this area here I do quite like, which is between 60.90 and 6100. You can see we came up, we came back down, then we had a big move, so it created this area of demand already. Came back and touched it a couple of times on Thursday last week, and then we came through it. Look at that, we bounced right at the bottom of that zone to the top of that zone and then lost it again. So this zone we've had marked up for some time now, since beginning of last week, end of last week. When was that? Thursday the 13th of February. So and it's definitely in play, as you can see here, here and here. So that's why I like marking up these zones, just so I can see, look back and say that's an area to keep of interest. Okay, so I'm going to be watching this zone. I'm going to keep the same. I'm not even going to narrow it down. So I'm going to be watching this zone for a rejection. We've got the 200 moving average coming down as well, so if that could set up as a confirmation as well. If we come up into that area and we meet up with the 200, we could have one confirmation. We could watch this area here, which is our second confirmation. Keep an eye on volume. If we start seeing reduced volume in the buy-in, then that's another confirmation. And if we see increased volume in the selling, that's another confirmation. So there's quite a few confirmations we can watch for if we get up into that area. And how I will trade it, hopefully I'll be in it from the break and retest of pre-market high, and I won't need to get into this trade. I usually only want to take a winning trade and walk away rather than risk money already made. But if we get up into that zone, I want to see it come in, reject it, come back up into that zone, come back out with no more follow through, and then maybe touch it like that. Better still, if we can come back up into that area and not quite get there, and then we move into that area and then we put in a lower high, a bit like that. And this is one of the patterns I always look out for, and I talk about it a lot. It's this head and shoulders pattern. So we've got left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and basically that the left shoulder's taken out the liquidity from previously, which is probably not much, so we may not see that. And then the head part of the pattern is where it pushes up into that zone where we've got overhead supply, and then we get rejected by the sellers, and then we have one last gasp attempt by the buyers to push it back up, but the sellers win again. And so I'll be looking for that play there. possibly look for a short coming out of that shoulder, but I'll be looking for a break and retest like that. That's better confirmation. So that's my plan for today. I'm watching for a rejection up here, break and retest a pre-market high. I'll think about a break and retest a pre-market low, even though it's with the trend, but we have got supply and demand just below, but I'll be looking for a bounce in that region as well. And then if we do lose that area, in fact I like it for a bounce purely because we have this big zone with this volume to the left, and we have this zone as well, and we're right in that area, and that's why I quite like it for the bounce. So we've got a few confirmations here as well. We've got not point of control, but it's a high volume shelf. We've got areas of confluence, pivots, and big reactions to these moves. Every time we came down into that area, this biggest reaction back up as well. So let's see what happens when we get back down into that area. Okay, let's look at order flow quickly while we're looking at ES. Flicking over to my order flow screen. What I'm looking for, you can see there's a bit of divergence going on right now. So cumulative delta has got aggressive selling, putting in lower highs, lower lows, apart from just here. And then, but if we look at the price action, this is a 2-minute candle chart. We can stop on 6:30. We've not really put in lower lows. We're holding that area, so we're holding the price. Could be that buyers are buying up what the sellers are selling, and then maybe we might see a bit of a bounce around here. But we'll find out when the market opens. There's not much volume in pre-market, but if the sellers are more aggressive than the buyers, and we've got more sales and buyers, then we should see the price come down with it. But we haven't taken out those lows, so it's looking, don't want to say this in pre-market, but more bullish than not. But we'll find out once the market opens. Back to looking at SPY next. Just get on the 15. I thought it looked a bit too detailed. So I like looking at the hourly charts because it gives me a it gets rid of all the clutter and the noise. So what do we have here? Are we looking at a left shoulder head, right shoulder with that line there? If we are, then we have to break and retest. I didn't see that. I struggled Friday, I'll be honest with you. I was trying to go for bounces. I've tried all the different demand zone bounces, and I ended up stopping out, and I just walked away. So I had a full loss, losing days. I think 2 hour losing day on Friday. Just hard. Look at that, just went down. And in my mind, I was set on trying to find a bounce, and I missed the obvious. I missed the break and retest off the pre-market low. I got it the day before. Beautiful run down, and I should have been on the ball really. I missed it totally. Bit annoyed with myself, but it is what it is. I tried a couple of bounces, just didn't work out. Okay, so SPY. Just look at the zones. Okay, we have this area of demand down here. We came back in with a big reaction. We touched it, or we came close to touching it. Again, I know I've got zones, but I'm looking at these areas. I call that not quite a touch, but we're close. And then we weren't able to take out that pivot. So I'm probably going to watch this 599. Look at this, 600 is a significant number as well. So a psychological number. It's a really bad drawing. Let's go to rectangle. So this region here, 600 for a bounce. You can see we had a pretty nice bounce on Friday, but it was a big sell-off day. Again, don't forget we are in an inside day, so it makes it harder to trade. If we get back up into this region, I do quite like the 608 area for the rejection, probably around there. It's an area of confidence where we've got these pivots here, tops of pivots there, bottoms of pivots, but we do have a lack of volume. The point of control is kind of this area of confluence. So 610 to 611 we can watch for rejection as well. And obviously big moves like this, a lot of people will put their fibs up and they want to see exactly where the 50% and the 618 is. And we've got the 618 happens to be that area we were watching, this region up here. So keep an eye on that. 50's a bit lower down, so you might see a bit of movement when we get to 605 and 606.71. But I don't really play fibs. I do keep an eye on them. You know, like today, it's good to know where potential rejections could happen if you're looking for a scalp. But I still quite like this region. In fact, this area should probably be down here. And if I go down into the 15-minute, I can refine that even more. There we go. So that's our zone there. Take out those tails, tops of that. So what I'm looking for is a move in the opposite, a sharp move in the opposite direction. We came down, pushed up, came down, then the big move up into that zone. So we know that zone's definitely in play because we bounced from it as well, and we broke through it, came back and retested it, a bit like ES. So 607 to 608. Look at that. Big round numbers as well. So pretty much keep an eye on that area. Bounce wise, again, we've got this bigger area down here. We can keep an eye on this region. It's already marked out 598. We've got a little bit of supply zone here as well, but 600 is a psychological number as well. So keep an eye. I'll probably just watch yesterday's low. SPX. And look at my comments. Good morning, Charles. Hope you're well. Hopefully you had a good week last week. And here's to a good week this week. SPX levels, new all-time high, areas of confluence, nothing's really changed. It's funny how, look at that bounce area, Saturday we've had marked up for a long time as well. Went straight through that area, we could say we came back, retested, lost it again. So nothing really, just the same levels we're watching. And the reason I watch these levels is because if I'm looking to go longs on ES and SPX is coming down into a level, then that's going to give me a higher probability of it succeeding. Whereas if I'm looking to go short and the market's coming down into a long position down here, then it's going to be harder to go short unless SPX breaks down through that level, comes back up and retests or something like that. NQ. Let's go back to the hourly. We didn't look at the daily, but we didn't have much excitement in the daily. In fact, if you look at volume, in fact, let's go back to the daily in ES because there's something I noticed on NQ. It's probably obvious. Okay, so there's a bit more. Look, I like to look at the volume. So look at the size of the candle compared to the volume. So we had 3 green days and they're quite small candles, relatively small candles. We had our first red day and we had a larger candle, so that's the warning sign. I think I talked about this actually on Friday, that there's warning signs. And then we had this big, it's not even a big candle really compared to, if you compare the size to the previous candle, you would expect to see double the candle, double the volume, but it's not there. So I'm just looking at previous times. Yeah, similar size candle there, more volume, bigger candle there. So we've had our bigger days, bigger sell-off days. That's a bigger, one of the bigger ones it was, but still in that average volume area, so nothing really exciting. But look at this, interesting, the daily we held this 50 moving average, and I think I talk about this quite a lot. I like the fact that the 50 is an indicator of where the smart money is, institutions and all the big hedge funds. Generally, if you're above the 50, you like to think you've got institutional support. If you're below the 50, then you've not got their support. So we're holding that area now, and if institutions or smart money are looking to get better value, then they would be buying. If they know they're going to be pushing up, they'll be buying in these areas, pushing it back up, buying in these areas, let the retail hold the bag up here. So it's a big area of confluence here. Not much volume, the volume's below around this area. I suppose we've got a fair bit of volume. Excuse me. There's a bit of volume in that area. You can see the volume shelf increases. So, but we haven't got full support. We want to see big volume spikes down in these areas. So here is a big volume spike, and what I mean by that is we've got a big volume shelf. You can see where the orders are. So selling there, buying there, Who knows, could be anything there, buying, maybe buying because we had that big bottom tail candle, and that's put the volume in. So we know that that is an area to watch again for a potential bounce. 59.60. Anyway, back down to NQ again. Increase in volume, price is selling off. You know, that's a sign of weakness in the market. Holding that 50 area still as well. Do have a little bit of a volume shelf around there. We've got a volume shelf a bit below, so that's another volume shelf there. Let's go down to the hourly again. Okay, so like ES, if we come back up into this zone here, and we've got the 50 moving average coming down as well, I quite like it for a rejection. Otherwise, I'm only watching this area really for a bounce, potentially down here as well. And I'll keep an eye on pre-market high break and retest. I do quite like that because we've got this big gap, and you can see reducing volume into that void above. QQQ. So let's just mark up this area. In fact, I only like to mark the areas which are not in pre-market, just normal market hours. And I always forget when I'm marking up, so maybe, is that area still? Okay, that's definitely market hours because of the volume. ES. Okay, that's in volume. That's fine. So QQQ. I suppose we are in market hours there, so we can keep an eye on this region here for a potential bounce. Look at that. We've got this volume shelf as well, which is a confirmation. Areas of confluence. Big area here. We've yet to come back down there for a while. So let's watch 522 for a bounce. Let's just mark it up so I can see it. Watch that area. I'll go down to the 15 to refine that. Rejection up here. 532 for 534. Otherwise, if we get all the way back up to 539, we can watch that area here for rejection. And that's pretty much the same as the others. Oil. This is interesting. This is what we've been talking about as well. We've been sitting in this sideways area for some time, waiting for something to happen. Couldn't put in a new high here. Couldn't put in a, well, we did put in a new low there, and then we put in another new low. So potentially we're looking at a break and retest. So I do quite like the break and retest of pre-market low on here. We do have a level marked up below. Let's just zoom out a bit. There's not much volume there. You can see decline in volume as well. So I'm going to probably get rid of that now. In fact, no, keep that one there. What's the one below? Yeah, hard because we've got a couple of top pivots and a bottom pivot. So just keep an eye on that. 69.70, 69.50 is a potential bounce area. But keep an eye on this for the rejection back down. And then if we get back up into, you know, I'm just looking at this pattern here. So we've got left shoulder, head, right shoulder. You could say that's the right shoulder there, but it's a bit off. Not the greatest pattern, but you can see the neckline there. So keep an eye on that 71.64 rejection. Probably this region here. Look at the 50 moving average and the 200 crossing as well, showing more signs of weakness. Excuse me. Okay, gold. Look at this. Rejecting that all-time high. So I don't reject all-time highs, but I do quite like the break and retest of pre-market high to continue this trend. Decline in volume, increase in price, so be a bit wary of that as well. That's a sign of weakness. If we lose pre-market low, let's keep an eye on a break and retest of pre-market low down into this region. And then we've got this big area below where we can watch for a bounce. Volume, there's a bit of a volume shelf here as well, a few little volume shelves. So we've got to really try and stick with the trend. We're in this massive uptrend at the moment. And so if we break over, was that a new all-time high today? I think it was. 29.74, 29, yeah, so new all-time high in the pre-market, and then we couldn't follow through. So let's see what the market brings. If we break out, retest, we can watch for the 3,000. I still think we're going to get to 3,000 before we see any selling off. But you know, that's just me thinking about it. You know, hoping it's going to happen, not with any technical analysis. Excuse me, that's better. But there's no levels above, so that's the next big psychological level. That's why I think we may get to 3,000 before we start selling. If I was a customer of a big institutional firm, I'd say I want to sell my shares when it gets 3,000. I'm not going to say sell it to 29,700 or something like that, or 29.80. I want to sell it 3,000. So you can probably see that when we get into this region, we might start seeing some selling off, or it might just stay strong. RTY, which is the Russell 2000, looking a bit weaker than the others because this one's broken down, came back up, it's broken the pivot, and we've got this area. If I were to watch for a rejection, I still quite like this area here for the rejection. 22.54, 22.60. Could keep an eye on this region. 22.40, that's probably the 50% mark as well if we draw the fibs on that big move. Look at that, smack bang. So keep an eye on this area. 22.41. I don't play rejections, but if I see something setting up, maybe we're seeing a bit of a change like that pattern, then I might look to go short on the RTY, but if not, I'll just keep an eye on it. And then bounces, we haven't got any levels of bounces. Next area is down here, and there's an area of demand as well. Notice the lack of volume. Potentially watch yesterday's low for a bounce. This region, there's a volume spike there, and we've bounced a couple of times before as well, and then yes, on Friday. And then YM, what I do like on this, and I'm going to keep an eye on this, look at this. So we've got this area of confluence there, tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots, bottoms of pivots, and then we got bottoms of this pivot, and then we made up, then we came down. I'm going to watch for a rejection at 44. I got it marked to 44.16, but 4,400, massive big psychological number. Let's mark that up on here. There. So that's a number to watch, 44,000 psychological number. So let's just put in an alert. If we get anywhere near there, I want to keep an eye on that, see what happens, and watch out for the rejection. Otherwise, yesterday's low for the bounce. That's all there is for that one. And then finally, Bitcoin. It's had a bit of a tease. I've topped up mine I've topped up down here when we dropped down here last week. We broke that trend, came back out. Is this a break and retest of that trend? Who knows? Let's find what happens. I do like the break and retest of pre-market high, 96,250. Otherwise, we could watch for rejection at yesterday's high. If we lose these levels, get down to Friday's low. Let's keep an eye on the bounce down there, and then we've got this 92 level watching as well for that's where I'll be watching to add back into my Bitcoin long term. Otherwise, if we get over 100,000, then I'll be looking to add a bit more there. If it breaks, comes back into it. Keep an eye on 100,000 as well for the rejection. That area, yes, Friday's high down to up to 100,000. And that's pretty much it for today. Our market opens in 5 minutes. We're losing a bit of market structure right now. We've lost a pre-market low. Let's flick to my order flow. We've finally put in a new low, and so that's putting a new low. So we may have trend continuation today, downward trend. So we are quite far away from the pre-market low. Why is that? Let's have a look. Our pre-market low is down here. That's why. We opened up and then we're starting to pull back. So we could also watch another area to watch actually. Let's go back to my screen, but only if it sets up with confirmation. On the ES, go to the 15-minute. Pre-market low. It's a big gap as well. No, I'm not a big fan. I was going to say we could watch for a bounce around here. No, I'm going to stick with watching for a bounce in this area of demand. And then potentially we could look for a break and retest short into that region. And that's it. I'm going to keep it really simple today. On the cards, trend continuation. So that's our trend at the moment. We could see something like that. That's a really bad line, I know. Here we go, that's our trend continuation, and that's why I quite like if we do push back up into this region, may not be today, I can watch for the rejection back down. Okay, that's it. Market opens in a few minutes. Trade safe, manage your risk well, and I will be back tomorrow. It's a short week for me this week. I'm only here Monday, Tuesday, possibly Wednesday, but I'll keep the live order flow running as well throughout. I can't guarantee it'll be always on because I won't be monitoring it, but I'll keep an eye on it over the next week as well. But I'll be here till Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday I won't be around. Okay, trade safe, and I will be in the order flow room, which I'll just share the link right now. I will be in here on and off. I won't be monitoring the chat, but if you come in leaving me a message, I should see it. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.